Hey, cunts, don't forget to click the subscribe button. We used to start the seminar at 7 in the morning for a number of years. And then we started at 8 in the morning. And then I went back and checked big data. And I saw that the results from 7, 8, or 9 were no different. I mean, for you, when you get out in the world, none. But what did show is that some of you, not you, but this is years gone by. I'm going to show you some slides of some hitters from years gone by. That you can get up that early, that many days in a row. Which I didn't believe it then, I can't believe it now. I still don't believe it. Young people, I mean, now a couple of the old gits, the old gits were never late. We've had guys here late 60s, 70s, never late. Not one. They're being on time is 20 minutes early. That's what we used to be taught. Being on time is being an hour early. Not. That's long, long ago. That's not now. And so we switched it now to 9. 9. I'm sure if I switch it to 10, there'd be no difference. But I feel guilt. I feel Jewish guilt. I couldn't start it at 10. I'd feel guilty. So, but we've tested all this stuff, and even though I don't know why the webinars work, I just don't, because me as an individual person, I don't need any fucking webinars. I don't need you to pat me on the head and say, "What a good job you did, Danny." And I certainly don't. I've never needed anybody to motivate me. But they work. So, even though I don't like them, we use them. And we change them. But we're running out of people that are willing to do them. Now, I don't know when those lines are going to cross, but sooner than later, because of the stories, the horror stories I've told you about. Not you, but the kids. And the YouTubers, the you fuckers. And Kat reminded me of something. I don't use the real names of some of the people that we talk about. Those aren't their real names. They're fictitious names. Why? YouTubers and you run them down like dogs. Which is a sad state of affairs. And I told you the story about the Tony Robbins infomercials, which is a sad state of affair. I mean, Jesus. Plus, it was a great marketing tool for him. God love him. Fuck. When some of the movie stars guys, I was nothing. I was a page at NBC, and then I went to one of Tony's things, and now I've got, this is my 3rd Golden Globe Award. That's terrific, except there are no more. Because if they check and they see what happened to the poor bastards that did them, they never had a private moment the rest of their life. Now, the guy you saw last night, we're going to talk in detail after I get your comments, in detail when we're not on YouTube, because there's a lot of stuff that's really germane. And he is a prime example of there's no work-life balance. There are only choices and they have consequences. And more than one of you in this room is looking for, although you didn't call it a work-life balance, that's what you really would like. And if all things were equal, and nothing's equal, right? And in a perfect world, and the world's obviously not perfect, but that's what you would like. You'd like to be, it's like you're looking at a Chinese menu, and it's a potpourri. Well, I'll have some Sichuan soup, and I'll have a little this, a little that. That's not what this deal is. You have to swallow the whole motherfucker, or it doesn't work. All 7 steps and all the sub-steps below the 7, or it doesn't work. It just doesn't. It flat ass doesn't. We had a kid a few years ago from Macedonia. He had the Macedonia plan. He failed. And we've had other plans, but him I remember the most because he was a multi-degreed engineer who had shit for brains. But he could explain how it should work using his differentiation from our 7 steps. And to the casual observer, to you, it sounds like it might work. But having done it 82 billion times, I knew it didn't work. And there is no balance. You heard Marcus yesterday say that last year he worked 11.75 hours, I think he said, or that's about 80 hours a week, 7 days a week. Down from 100 to 120. Because at 36, he can't work that hard anymore. I was able to work hard, longer hours into my 40s. And I attribute that, although he's got good genes, I attribute that to my genes. Men in my family live into the middle 90s, unless they're caught in bed with somebody else's wife and then they get shot or something like that. And the gals live to late 90s into early 100s. I plan on being the first guy that crosses the 100 year. And I've had a couple aunts that we started planning their 100th birthday when they were 98, and they both died before they were 100. So we don't do any fucking more planning for 100th birthdays. We just show up. We just show up, and when the first one died, it's serendipity. But when the second one died, aunt, I mean, we had to regroup and think about this. And but a lot of people, their goal is, they just want to make it to the end, and then your body starts shutting down. Remember, you never exceed your wildest expectation for yourself. If you want to make 10 million, you're going to make 10 million, 80,000. You want to make 100 million, you're going to make 101 million maybe. And then you just kind of fall over the goal line. And you're expended. And when we talk about goal setting today after lunch, and we give examples, myself included, and a few other examples, and then tonight's homework are affirmations and goals. And one of the things you're going to do tonight is you're going to write this down. You're going to write your own obituary. Your own obituary. Most of you haven't written an obituary. Now, I only found out maybe 10, 15 years ago that when they put your obituary in the newspaper, somebody paid for it to be there. It's not for free. Shows how naive I am about certain things. Fuck. So when you see in the Wall Street Journal a guy's got 2,500 word obituary, somebody paid for those 2,500 words. Now, my obituary, I just wanted to say, fuck you, strong letter to follow. That's it. That should be pretty cheap. It should be pretty cheap. But there is no work-life balance. We talked about the Viking bitch moving, her whole family, and then the board. A majority of the board moved on top of it. And I remember looking at you, just think of the magnitude for those of you that have families. Honey, wherever it is. And one of you aptly pointed out, only moved 140 miles or whatever. But they still got to go to different schools, et cetera, et cetera. It's a pain in the ass. At best, it's a pain in the ass. At worst, it's a fucking nightmare. Having had teenage kids that we moved, you're going to go to a next school, a new school. What? And the first thing that comes up, friends. And if our kids have heard me say it once, I've said it a million times, you don't need friends. Friends are problems. I still say it. Friends are problems, families are problems. But there is no balance. And one of you asked me about dress yesterday. Well, you know that it'll change your life. Now, this is one of my superstars of years ago. And there he is now. I will go back. He's not there just because he's a black guy. Does dress matter? Now, this is an extreme. You're going to see some more even extreme examples than this in a couple slides. We start out slow. He tried to convince me that his fucking dreadlocks didn't make a difference. He's an accountant, chartered accountant. And I said, oh, yes, they do. And then after the fact, and when he became super successful, he said, God almighty, you should have hit me with a fucking cricket bat. I almost did, Kim, but anyway, that's a whole other stuff. Okay, now, he's a Russian guy. And then, not as dramatic, but he understood better than the first guy. Because now everybody says you can go casual, right? Not, are you going to play this game? No. And then, this is the number 2 or 3 poker player in the world. He's getting in his limo now. There's no fucking comparison. None. And anybody that tells you any different is full of shit, crazy, or both. None. You want to hunt with the big fucking dogs, and you want to get off the porch. You know how the dogs sit on the porch and just lick their balls all day? Well, if I could lick my balls, I'd stay in the porch all day too. But if you want to get off the fucking porch and hunt with the big dogs and pee in the tall grass, this is what you got to look like. Period. Full stop. No exceptions. And for those of you that live in warm climates, that kind of shit, we still dress like this. In Panama, in Venezuela, in Hawaii. No exceptions. Yes, it's the same guy. And the most ironic thing is when they come back to me and says, God, Dan, how did you know? Are you fucking stupid? Yes. Are you brain dead? Yes. Who, looking like this, is going to give him lines of credit over, I mean, give me a fucking break. Yet I got to beat these kids up to get them to do this. This is a superstar. We'll look real close. We'll go back. This guy wouldn't go out in the sunlight. He was a hermit. This isn't Corona. I mean, it was a long time ago. And yet, the circle of their mates that they're chilling with, when you all look like that, all right, let's have another joint. Let's snort a line up. There's no comparison. And I've been doing this a long fucking time. But I knew this before I ever started this. Dress British and think Yiddish. So get back to the question you asked me about dress. We pulled these out of the archives. Not the archives. And I'm telling you what the Lord knows. I know what the fuck works. Nigeria, Ethiopia, Kenya. This is the dress for us. When I went to Israel, they all wear the little white shirts, short sleeves, showed up like this. And I remember I met with the Minister of Energy, Modier, and he said, you must be warm, Mr. Peña. I said, well, and I was. I mean, my vest was soaking wet. And when I gave that one-day seminar in London, my suit, you could wring it out at the end of the day. And I changed for dinner. You could wring the whole suit out. It was wet. Another reason I wear these kind of non-slip shoes is because I've fallen on the stage before, back in the day. So these, I'm not sure they're fall-proof. I'll say that and then I'll fall. But I mean, I'm not likely to slip in my own perspiration. And Modier said, you must be warm, Mr. No. Why? Is it warm, sir? And because he's wearing the white linen sleeveless shirt and the way they dress. And the famous question he asked me, he said, you're here, Arm & Hammer is here tomorrow, which I didn't know Arm & Hammer was Jewish. Arm & Hammer, he used to run Occidental Petroleum. Is there a God? On his 100th birthday, he was going to be bar mitzvahed. He had never been bar mitzvahed, which is, like a confirmation in the Jewish religion. He died in his sleep before he could be bar mitzvahed. Because when you're bar mitzvahed, you're cleansed of all your sins. This guy was the biggest whoremongering fuckface that was ever produced in the oil business. Dr. Arm & Hammer was his name. And he died the night before he was going to be bar mitzvahed on his 100th birthday. Fucking irony? No. There is a God. And everybody in the oil business said, there is a God. Because God struck him down, and they were quoting the Bible and shit like this. And so I said, well, I don't know Dr. Hammer. And he named a couple other people. I said, well, I know Mr. Hunt, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, why would we do business with you, Mr. Peña, as opposed to the people the luminaries? And I said, with the greatest respect, Minister, you know the difference between chicken shit and chicken salad. He says, yes. Well, you've been dealing with a chicken shit, and I am the chicken salad. I've been talking like this all my fucking life. And he says, I believe you've got enough chutzpah. I'm a goyim, which means I'm not a Jew. He says, we'll give you the business, Mr. Peña. He didn't ask to see my presentation. Shit, nothing. Remember I said yesterday, and I've been saying, pounding on my chest, you never exceed your highest and wildest expectations, right? If you know anything about the Elon the Musk, he would have told you, and he still tells, that he thought he only had less than a 5% chance for SpaceX making it, less than a 5% chance for, what's the other one? Tesla making it, and less than 5% chance for the Superloop, the fucking thing you're under the ground. And I gave a talk to the Superloop guys a couple of years ago. I mean, some weird motherfuckers there. Could you say that again, Mr. Peña? Brains as big as this fucking room. And I got a brain as big as a planet. But my brain felt small in that group. Less than 5% chance, all three. Now, you'd still be spreadsheeting SpaceX. You know that? Some of you cunts in here. Put a little, what do you call it on? You carry it in your... And you'd be spreadsheeting until you're 70 years old. Less than 5% chance. And he sleeps on the floor of the conveyor belts or wherever he is. Just like I used to. Success leaves clues. That's my favorite. And then we got Brian QLA Rose. This was his Facebook picture. Was is the operative word. I took a look again at your Facebooks. Next. Or as Gerard, the gangster lawyer from Manhattan, would say, Brooklyn, forget about it. What are you thinking when you put those fucking pages together? Oh, no, you're not thinking. Even some of the adults in the room, and there are not too many of you in this room. What are you possibly thinking? What is it about when you put a thing on Facebook, you got a picture like this? What in God's name are you fucking thinking? You're an embarrassment. And this is why I say Homo sapien is fucking through. Brian QLA Rose. That was the peak of his life. He's 7 years old. Now, some of you got pictures just like it, so don't be looking with such fucking disdain. If you notice, go back in pictures, not now because they've been taken out, all the pictures he and I look like we're the same height. Have any of you ever met Brian in person? Under my armpit. That's with elevator shoes. I didn't know that you could have elevator shoes. I didn't know that. Some of you ought to get elevator shoes. That's allegedly us standing together, which is a lie. I don't know if that's a good photo shot or a bad one, but I know it's not true. Why do almost all the athletes say that they're 3 or 4 inches taller than they are? The actors say that they're 3 or 4 inches. Why? First of all, why would anybody believe it? But they continue to do it because general populace is stupid. Looks like I was screaming. I'm positive I was screaming. And there, closer to the truth, is the picture of his God, standing next to his God in his office. And that's not even right. And for those of you that have followed him since I met him in 2014, when I told him I was going to change his life, if he followed the steps, that's always the caveat. There's no resemblance between what he was in 2014 and what he is today. Even before he's running for mayor. He fucking might win. He's got 1.5 billion people in southern England and London that love him. He just could win. Wouldn't that be a fucking kick in the ass? You never exceed your highest and wildest expectations. Never. By the way, when I come back, and I'm going to do this hopefully, unless the world ends, until I'm about 80, then I'm going to run for Parliament, and I'm going to go down south, and I'm going to be the second American Prime Minister. Who was the first? Winston motherfucking Churchill, that's who. Who do I base a lot of my life about? Winston motherfucking Churchill and Andrew Carnegie. One of the biggest crook thieves that ever lived, and the last and first and only American Prime Minister. You never exceed your highest and wildest expectations. That was in its transition period from hoodie to, well, I don't know. And now he uses my tailor. He had my tailor on his fucking show for an interview, my English tailor. Okay. Last night you saw Steve, right? First alpha male, other than myself, that you've been exposed to in the seminar. So, don't tell me any of you even resemble even a facsimile of him, but what are the takeaways from Steve? Yes, sir.
He said you need to learn to sell to be in business.
And he can't code, he can't do anything. But you want to know. Just like Nick, he can't play tennis. Ballmer can't code, he doesn't know anything other than how to sell. And none of you in here know how to sell. Worth of shit. So, and I told you yesterday, even Bill Gates, who I have a lot of respect for, now, out after 40 years in business, it says the most important thing in a business is being able to sell. Warren Buffett and I have two things in common. Number one, we both are graduates of the, not Andrew, but Dale Carnegie selling course. He went in the early 60s, I believe, and I went in the early mid-70s because I wanted to see what the most popular selling course was giving. Because I was forming a selling school, if you will, for a big Wall Street firm. And the second thing we have in common is both Mr. Buffett and I are graduates of the New York Institute of Finance, which is a crash course PhD in finance thing that we both attended. But other than that, we have nothing in common. Other than that, he's an introvert. Remember, 98% of the high-performance people are introverts. Now, Steve is not an introvert. Steve is an extrovert, and he's an alpha male. What else about Steve? Yes, sir.
Learn how to recruit and continue to recruit talent.
Talent. One of the things, and because we don't want to confuse you here, but I tell you, your mandate is clear. You're going to look for money, look for deals, right? Well, when you get to before you get to where Marcus Bauer is, you got to learn how to recruit. And in my judgment, human resources is useless as tits on a board. The first thing I eliminate when I go in and take over a big company is HR. If not all of it, most of it. Which, boy, that goes over like a turd in a punch bowl. I mean, believe me, you got to fight tooth and nail. What else about Steve? Yes, sir.
He had extremely high energy.
Just like you guys. Okay, you guys are on fucking fire, as they say in Texas. You guys are on fucking fire. I told you at the beginning of the seminar, by the end of the seminar, you're going to be tired, and I'm just going to be getting going. Because I love what I do. This is not work for me. Plus, this is how I am every fucking day of the week. Every fucking day of the year. I may have mentioned this at my 70th birthday party. We had 200, ostensibly, of my best people here. Black tie deal, 3 days. And our daughter, our sons, my kid brother, my kid brother's wife, all were asked at least 30, 40 times each by the 200, is this really how Mr. Peña is? At the beginning of the third day, our daughter comes up to me and says, Daddy, these people are retarded, aren't they? And the Down syndrome kid wasn't there. These kids are retarded. What do you mean, honey? He says, they keep asking me the same question. Is this really how your father is? Well, what did he tell him? He says, no. I say, you're worse. I said, you're on your best behavior here because it's your birthday party, which is true. I didn't wind down. I was maybe down 5%, 10%. I maybe didn't say fucking cunt so many times. We had priests and shit. I mean, you know, so I toned it down a little. Not much, though. And I talked the same way in front of clergymen as I'm talking here. Because they couldn't believe, one, I could have that. And I was drinking till the wee hours. I mean, they couldn't believe I could have the same energy level 3 days in a row. And they were sleeping in with hangovers and, you know, but this is how I am. I'm a high energy guy. So is Mr. Balmer. What else about Steve? Yes, sir.
He wanted to be an example for his children, making them realize how fulfilling life can be when you are professionally passionate about something you love.
About something, well, he adds the word professionally. I take that word out. If you're passionate about, you can be successful at anything if you're passionate about it. If when you get up in the morning, I mean, it's the first thing you think about, and when you go to sleep at night, it's the first thing you think about. And God knows I've been like that. Once I got over the speed bump that I made a mistake in deciding to coach, because I figured that out fairly quickly, because I grossly underestimated how the people had no self-esteem and all those things I've talked about ad nauseum. But once I got over that and I said, well, I'm here, I'm going to stick it out, and I'm going to be the best there ever was. And then when I was doing my goals and affirmations and that goals of Mount Rushmore with the presidents and me, I thought of that in 1993. When I said Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and me, those were my goals and affirmations in 1993. I said, you know, I'm here, I'm going to be the best. And every day I get up in the morning, especially as I've gotten older, with all the broken bones and shit that I've got, I don't feel like a twisted steel and panther piss, but I just block it out of my mind. This morning I pulled a fucking muscle in my back, lifting weights, because Edward transfers the weights to my suite, so I exercise every morning before, you know, I get ready and come down. And I didn't warm up right, and warming up when you get older is more important than when you're younger. I can attest to that. But I have a high energy level, and I always have had a high energy level. They're telling us that our little puppy, Winston, the bulldog, is a high energy puppy. And I've had dogs 40, 45 years, and I know what that means. When they're a high energy puppy at 8, 10, 12 weeks, you got a fucking problem. Because of two of the Great Danes that we've raised over the years, we've had two high energy Danes. And Chaos, who weighed 215 pounds, I mean, he was 44 inches at the withers, was a high energy puppy. He broke out of his crate. So I was telling Sally, I said, this little shit is a high energy dog. I mean, we're going to be in for it. And our next puppy, we just were notified yesterday, the Great Dane puppy, because we lost two Great Danes at birth a few months ago. So now she's had another litter, and they're going to be born Monday. So our Great Dane puppy will be here in 9 weeks from now. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't get a higher energy puppy. The best way to not to get a higher energy puppy is to pick the runt of the litter. The runt is normally not the higher energy puppy. Okay, anything else about Steve? Yes, sir.
He said you need to figure out how to measure your business success, and that'll help lead you to profitability.
What gets measured gets accomplished. When I take over businesses, and when I was running and gunning and doing these things, we used to have a big poster. We don't have it. I don't hang it anymore. But I mean, fuck. It was like this big. What gets measured gets done, not accomplished. Gets done. And HR would come up to me and say, well, the employees want to know what that means, Mr. Peña. What do you mean what it fucking means? They're feeling stress. This is what Are you shitting me? They're feeling fucking stressed because I put a poster up? Well, they like that definition, what that really means. And what she told me off the record, because they want to know if they should be putting their resumes out on the street. Yeah, tell them they should be putting their resumes out on the street. Tell them that I didn't tell you what it meant. You give the weekly report you're going to get to your employees, I guarantee you, within 30 days, half your employees will all resign without you ever firing them. 30 days, they're gone. Thank you, YouTube.